The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
This is episode 209.
209.
What is our topic today?
This is falling off the spiritual wagon.
Oh, no.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, more than once.
Kind of be hanging off the wagon at the moment a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So don't feel ashamed.
Yeah, no.
Cool. Well, before we talk about it, anything you want to touch on from last week?
Yeah, last week we did Awakening Your Soul's Purpose, and we hope that everyone enjoyed that episode. I did. I thought that it was a good topic, and I know that there were a lot of people that are interested in figuring out what their purpose is to begin with, and so hopefully we were able to help open some minds there with that episode.
Cool. Yes.
Every week we answer 2 listener questions. The first question this week is from Cassidy. She said, "My dog freaks out whenever I leave the house and also when I take him in the car. He acts like a totally different dog during these times and I don't know how to help him. Any suggestions?" So first thing is the law of energy, and that says that what you're feeling, your dog is feeling, and sometimes vice versa, depending on how attached you are to your animals. Yeah. So the very first thing when it comes to these things is that when you're leaving the house or you're taking your dog in the car, is making sure that your energy is calm and on a level where he doesn't feel like there's a problem. Because they don't know. They don't really read our minds. If we say something telepathically to them without knowing, then they understand that. But for the most part, they don't understand what's going on inside of our heads. Yep. So if they're going in the car, they don't know if they're going to the vet, the dog park, friend's house. They have no clue. So when your energy is off, then they think, oh, this isn't a great place to be going. Right. And same with leaving the house. When you leave the house, I always give the dogs a cookie and give them a little love and say, we'll be right back, and make them feel secure that we're leaving. And again, with the energy, making sure that it's not nervous energy. Right. That's really the best thing that you can do. When you can talk to your dogs yourself, and we've talked about that a lot. Yeah. That if you really focus and focus on them, clear your mind, they can hear you. And so that's another great way, is if you can teach yourself how to do that, then you can tell them where they're going or where you're going, and that helps a lot in that case.
That's what I was thinking, because some maybe more than others, I don't know, because I'm not an animal, but telepathically, can they follow every single word you're saying?
No.
Maybe not, but they can get a general idea of what you're saying.
Yes.
But a lot really appreciate and use images more than I think words. So showing them, like sitting with them before you leash them up and everything, and explain to them, we're going to go for a ride, and show them in your mind how you picture them sitting in the seat.
Yes.
Calm, relaxed, just watching out the window, whatever, and not being a spaz.
Yeah, exactly. And you can show them where they're going, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That helps, too. Even, like, with the going to the vet when they're nervous. Yeah. One of our dogs, Sabbath, he had a little minor surgery the other day. And, I'm nervous to leave him, and I know he's nervous. But being able to communicate with not just him, but the other 2 dogs, and let everybody know, this is what's going on, this is where we're going. And he was much more calm than he would have been if I wouldn't have been able to do that.
But do it before you leash him up, or you say walk, or go bye-bye, or whatever.
Anything.
Because as soon as you say that,
it's done.
They're going to spaz. So you want to do it while you have their attention. Just sit quietly.
Yes.
And just sit next to them, pet them, and show them this image of them sitting in the car and being well-behaved.
Yes. And it doesn't take an animal communicator to do that. Danny can do that with our dogs very easily. Yeah. Yep. You just have to learn how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And believe that it's happening. Yeah, but I think you will see a difference. You got to do it regularly. We have an older Great Dane, a female one, and she has a bit of, I think dementia, and just, she's elderly. So in the morning, she wasn't sure whether she could get up and leave the room, even if Samantha was already like up and out and about, and I might still be asleep. So she wasn't really responding to this and kind of staying there and looking uncertain. So at night, before we go to bed, I'd lay with her, I'd sleep with her, and I would try to tell her in words at first. And I didn't see much of a response.
Yeah, she's a picture girl.
So all of a sudden, I was like, I'm going to just start trying to show her images. And I actually showed her 2 versions. One of following Samantha down the hallway so she could see the back of her and recognize her. And the whole path all the way to outside. So she could go to the bathroom or whatever. And then I showed her doing it just the path of the hallway and familiar things, pictures on the walls. Yeah. She would recognize, even she's kind of blind, but blurry, she would recognize. Yeah. And once I did that a couple times, maybe once or twice, and she has not stayed in there.
She has not. I used to get like bread because that's her favorite food. Mm-hmm. And I would put like a trail down the hallway to try and get her out of bed because she would stay there. And I'm like, and you could see that she wanted to get up so bad. And we're not sure if that's something that came from her previous owner. Maybe they trained her that way or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, ever since Danny talked to her, I don't have to go get her at all. Most mornings she comes out and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're here. You know, it's so weird. So yeah, it really does help to learn how to do that. It's totally worth it. It's not hard to do. I highly suggest it.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Yep. So I hope that answers your question, Cassidy.
Thanks, Cassidy.
And then the next one is from Leslie. She said, you two talk about manifesting a lot and how well it works for you. It doesn't work for me, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I usually start by asking for what I want, and then I let it go and trust that the universe will bring it to me. It rarely goes the way I want it to, and I don't know if maybe I'm just doing it wrong. Manifestation is a very interesting thing and topic.
Yeah.
And I'm learning a lot about it, more about it myself. I actually came across this video on TikTok where there was a guy talking about the difference between the law of attraction and manifestation. The law of attraction teaches us that what we put out, we get back. But that doesn't mean if you say, I want to have this car, that you're going to get that car right then and there. You have to work for things. And that's where the manifestation comes in, is working for those things, believing that you can have those things. That's the number one thing, is believing that you can have those things.
Right.
But sometimes manifesting happens without you even trying. That happens to me a lot, where I will say something that I will just say, I wish I could, or I wish this would happen, and just not even meaning anything by it.
It happens.
And it happens. I was telling this to Danny the other day that I have a very strange sleep pattern, I guess you could say. I like to get up early in the morning. But the problem with it is that then I can't sleep in ever. And I was starting to feel like this is just not the normal way to live. Like, I want to go on vacation and sleep in. Or if there's a day where, we go out late, I would still get up at 6 o'clock in the morning if we were out until 1 o'clock in the morning. So I said, I wish I could just have a normal sleep schedule and feel like a normal person when it came to that. And you know what? It started happening without me even trying. That now I in the morning, I'll be like, no, you're going to go back to sleep. And I do. And I wasn't able to do that. So sometimes just saying something and putting it out there will bring it to you like that.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily believe that could happen, but I didn't disbelieve it. So that's a question right there with manifestation. Is it was like the universe went, okay, well, she would like this, so let's give it to her. Right. So why does that happen? Well, then I look at it as like, I do things for other people. I do good. I do a lot of free work. So the universe is paying me back for doing that work. So when it comes to manifestation, it can't be just about you. Right. You should pay it back, pay it forward to somebody. It doesn't have to be handing somebody money. It can be just doing something nice for them, complimenting them, doing something. If you have a job that allows you to do something for free, like for me, I can have the free reading group, do it. These are the things that the universe loves, and this is what helps to bring your manifestations to reality.
I think there's 3 important questions that you have to ask yourself when you're manifesting, because this will make you understand better. I think, for me, what I believe is prayer is more for somebody else. Manifesting is for yourself. Yeah. But it's kind of virtually the same thing. You're asking for divine help to achieve or obtain something in this world for yourself or someone else. The three main questions, especially for manifestation, I would say is, what are you trying to manifest? Who are you trying to manifest for? And why are you trying to manifest? Mm-hmm. Those three questions are important because if you're trying to manifest winning the lottery numbers so you can have what you would perceive as a stress-free, carefree, living the high life. So that's one thing that you have to ask right there. Is that a realistic thing to even try to manifest?
Right.
And is that perception of what that's going to bring you really realistic?
Yes.
Then the question is, okay, who are you doing this for? For yourself. And why?
Right.
But if it's something else of like really simplistic like that, gosh, I really wish, and it comes when you hear that, like, whether it's in your own mind or you actually verbally say, God, I really wish, that's like coming from a pure, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Place of like, I really wish I could obtain or get this in my life to help me.
Absolutely.
That is like a key sign for me. Mm-hmm. When I say something like, man, I need to win the lottery. Do you hear how that's like demanding almost?
Yeah.
It's not wishing, it's not as pure as that.
Yeah.
So there are little symbols even within ourselves, signs to know how to answer those three questions.
Yes. I think a lot of people too don't catch those little things. Like the average person might not have caught the fact that they wished for a better sleep pattern and then got it. I didn't do that myself. It just started happening. So these things are very possible.
Right.
Manifestation is very real, but you also can't manifest what's not meant for you. Mm-mm. So if you're trying to manifest, that guy that you met at the bar the other night to marry him, probably not going to happen because he's probably not the guy that you meant to marry. Right. So it doesn't work that way, So you have to look at the big picture of all of it. And like Danny said, look at those questions and see why you're doing it and help others too. Live a kind and, moral life, I guess. Mm-hmm. And the universe loves to see that.
And it will bring the right things to cross your path.
Absolutely. So hope that answered your question, Leslie.
Thanks, Leslie.
And thank you, Cassidy. Thank you both for your questions this week.
Thanks.
Let's do a reading before we get into this week's episode.
Okay.
Okay, this is for Carrie. She says, this is my granddad. He passed in 1977, but to this day, I miss him so much. I felt like we had a special connection. He used to leave pennies under my Grammy. He used to leave pennies until my Grammy passed in 2011. Is he still around? Does he know how much he meant to me? I was not quite 7 when he passed. Mm. She didn't give his name, so we'll just call him Grandpa. Is he Grandpa? That's the year I was born. 77. Okay, let's see what he has to say. He was a very loving man, and he was a family man. He was the type of man that he decided that he wanted a family, and that was what was important to him. And he wanted to find the right woman to have that family with, your grandma, who he's with and loves very much, to the point where it almost makes me tear up. He loves her so much, and he's so glad that they are back together. He always wanted to do right by his family, and he realizes that wasn't always the easiest thing to know how to do, but he tried his best. He always tried to give the best advice that he could. He had a very level-headed type of temper. It wasn't like he wasn't all over the place. You didn't have to worry that he was going to explode on you. If anything, he would be more the type that would sit and listen and be non-judgmental, because he knew that that's the way that he wanted to be treated, and so that's the way that he treated other people. Is he still around, you asked? Absolutely he is. Absolutely. He tells me that he still leaves the pennies. Not as often, because that was more of a sign for your grandma. But he's telling me to look for nickels now. Forget about the pennies, he says. Start looking for nickels. And he's showing me a nickel that says 1977 on it. So I have a feeling you're going to see this nickel soon, and that's from him. So, you know. But he sends you a lot of signs, and he's definitely around you, and he loves that you have taken this spiritual route in life because it allows him to be more present in your life. Because when people that block out this kind of stuff, then their ancestors and stuff can't help them as freely as when they're open to it. And so he said that him and your grandma can help you a lot more easily because you're open to their help. And so you'll see little things from them, little reminders of your childhood. Yes, you were very young, 7, but you had a little stuffed animal of some kind. When this happens, sometimes I see the stuffed animals that I had as a kid, and this is how they tell me this is what she had. And I had at one point this little stuffed dog, and so that's what I'm seeing is a little stuffed dog, and he's just mentioning this that you used to carry around. So hopefully you remember that. And does he know how much he meant to me? Of course. He wants to know if you know how much you meant to him. Because you were a wonderful granddaughter, even though you were just a little one. You were very patient for your age and not pushy. And he really enjoyed being around you and being able to care for you. So
Nice.
So there you go, Carrie. Hope
And Grandpa.
And Grandpa. Hope that answers your questions. And yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Carrie.
So there we have it. Let's give our info and go into the
Do it.
episode. Okay, so you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. I have a radio show that airs every Wednesday on VoiceAmerica.com on the Empowerment Channel at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Or you can find links to that on my website or any podcast provider. Just search Beyond the Bridge and you'll find it there.
Hey.
And you?
Yes, for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Yay.
All right. Episode 209, Falling Off the Spiritual Wagon.
Yay. I think we all know what it means to fall off the wagon. We just look at
in
it.
other words, it's like losing faith and
Losing
belief,
faith,
you know.
Yeah. Letting go of something that you've worked hard for is something else I think of, because I always go back to, like, you know, alcoholics and that kind of thing, and that when you have a drink, you fall off the wagon. With spirituality, it's not like it's just one thing and you're knocked off the wagon. But there's times in the spiritual journey that I can absolutely say that I haven't been the most spiritual person, and that to me is falling off the spiritual wagon. This is when the universe tests us a lot to see if we're going to fall back into old patterns and behaviors. So we feel this kind of disconnect from the other side and from the universe, but this is a time where they're really testing us. They're really trying to make sure, have you understood your lessons so far, your spiritual journey so far? And you feel that kind of sense of disorientation and you know, what's going on.
You tend to look at the things that are happening as happening to you instead of for you. Like forgetting that it's really a lesson.
Yes, absolutely.
The simulation, the whole thing is just a lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I asked our listeners if they feel like they have ever fallen off the spiritual wagon, and 82% said yes.
Welcome.
Yep.
You're human.
You were human. 12% said no, and 6% said that they aren't sure. Shauna said, absolutely. There are times when I fall off for a little while because it's needed. It's like I'm pausing the journey for a moment to kind of take some time for me. The times where I don't mean to fall off, and I notice that I've fallen off, I climb right back on and away we go. I feel it's important to try and notice when you've fallen off versus if you just need a break for a bit so that you don't get lost on your journey. And you know what? That I totally understand what she's saying, and I agree with her that sometimes when you're on this spiritual journey, it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Especially at first. Like the first year of the spiritual journey for me was really, really intense. And I remember getting to a point probably 5 or 6 months in where I was just like, I can't do this for right now. I just need some time. I need a break. And it was weird because, like, I didn't do any readings. I didn't connect to my mom even. I just took this break. But it felt good. And when I got back on the wagon, it felt even better.
Right.
You know, it's necessary to take those times. Yeah.
And again, like the hills and valleys that we experience in life, you know, the valleys really aren't happening to us. They're happening for us.
Yeah.
And then the hills elevate us so we can see above and get a greater picture.
Yep.
So I'm not talking literally like geographically I'm standing in a valley and then a hill. I'm talking about a conscious level of thinking. So the valley is where we learn. The hill is where we can now get a broader picture of why we learned that.
Right.
And this goes up and down, up and down, up and down.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
But every time we go through those valleys, you played a video earlier today for me that was so cool. It explained it so well.
Yeah.
Like that these valleys, like you said, are indeed the tests.
Yes.
And they're different. Some are deeper, some aren't. But it is a test to see, are you going to react the same as you did 3 valleys ago?
Yes.
Or a valley ago? You know, because we brought you up on the hill.
Yep.
We gave you a view of the broader picture.
Yep.
And then you came back down, and now you're doing this thing again.
Yep.
You know?
Exactly.
You're panicking. You're freaking yourself out. Mm-hmm. You know, remember that there's another hill coming.
Yes.
It's kind of what I always sort of hear is like, you know, I haven't fallen into this infinite hole.
Yes. That is one thing that I will say about this falling off the wagon is that when I do, I never feel like I'm completely off the wagon or that, you know, I'm seeing it going and I'm not following behind it. I feel like it's always there. I always have a foot on where, you know, if you're an alcoholic and you have a drink, you're off the wagon.
Yes.
But in this case, I feel like I still am holding on even when I'm at my lowest points because life will test you.
And what that person was explaining in that video too was like that every time you're going to move to the next level, which so I kind of look at this as like these hills and valleys are kind of going up a hill. So each time you hit the hill, your elevation is higher.
Yes.
You're seeing more of the broader picture of your life. But the valley is that test in order for you to level up to get to that dream, that next goal.
Yes.
Which might seem unobtainable in the valley.
Yes. Yes. And I know a lot of people that are going through this right now. And I will say that we are as well. I mean, I can't speak for you, but I know that I have my struggles.
For sure.
There's a lot going on. And like, the energy is weird and major change is coming for a lot of people. And we're included in that. And, you know, because I have these abilities and because I have psychic friends that I talk to, we know that there's certain things that are coming.
Yeah.
But I still have doubts. I still sit here and go, well, what if these other psychics that I work with are wrong? What if I'm wrong? What if the cards are wrong?
Right.
What if everything's wrong? And it's like, what's the matter with you? Like, haven't you seen this play out before? So where maybe 3 years ago, if something like this was happening, I would have been panicked and I would have been crying all the time. And, you know, I am nervous, but I'm able to control it better. I'm able to say, well, I'm just going to let the universe do what it says it's going to do instead of completely making myself crazy like I would have before.
The ability to talk yourself out of the anxiety gets greater, you know.
Yep.
You can panic less. And a little bit of like that backstory about what you're talking about for us is that even recently we've been asking for certain signs or also certain signs to be clarified.
Yes.
And signs have been clarified. And then the certain signs that we both individually kind of asked for were being shown.
Right.
I think one day you said, I asked to see
Yellow
squares. And sure enough, it was like, boom, open up some TikTok or something. There was somebody,
a little girl at Disneyland,
hopscotching her.
She was standing in a yellow square. It was just a drawn yellow square.
So then I decided to try it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go for orange triangles. And lo and behold, it was like it kind of vanished from my mind. Didn't think about it for a little while. Samantha brought that up, and all of a sudden I turned around and looked at something that was an orange triangle.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay,
yep.
So, but we still doubt.
Yes.
Because, you know, that for some reason we think, oh my God, I have fear, which means if I'm afraid, there must be something coming.
Yep.
Or a roadblock or an obstacle in front of me that's going to knock me off my path. No, you're creating that.
Yeah.
You'll actually create that obstacle.
Yes.
And that object in your way.
Yep.
By purely putting the energy into that fear.
Yes.
Instead of imagining it being a more open path.
Yes. There is an intense energy that comes when change is coming. And a lot of people, I think, when you don't have this kind of connection or aren't on a spiritual journey, they don't understand what this intensity is, and they panic over it because they feel like they're, going crazy or they're anxious or whatever. And a lot of times this whole thing comes with feeling stuck, because there'll be almost like boredom that goes, you're in this pattern, and it's like, I need the change. I really, really need it. But at the same time, I'm scared of it and that kind of thing. And so it can be really, really intense. Yeah. And then it just, like one day, it doesn't anymore, because something happens and it gives way.
Right.
And then it starts all over again. There's like a period of time where it's peaceful. And so I think that one of the things the universe wants to see is for us to stay on the spiritual wagon during those difficult times.
Yes.
And it is not easy to do. It's
not, because there is like this level of pressure. It's like you feel like you can't see it, but you can feel it. And there is this level of pressure that builds before you pass that test and move to another level.
Yes. I know that I'm lucky because I have these abilities, which allows me to know that there is something more. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no way that this is all some weird coincidence, because I wouldn't be able to do what I can do.
No,
but
lucky.
But before I learned about these abilities, I would go to a psychic and they would tell me what was coming, and I would believe it and then not. And then I would get panicked again, and it would be like, the difference at that time was, maybe this doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Maybe there is no God, there is no universe, there is no psychic abilities, that my mom is not actually there, this person is guessing. Whatever it is that makes your rational mind feel like it's being rational, even though it's not. Right. Those are the things that we kind of tell ourselves. And so I am thankful to have that ability of knowing that there is something there. And so I hope that you guys have listened to this podcast and know us well enough to know and can hear the sincerity in my voice when I say it's real. Mm-hmm. And you don't need to worry about that. And if you can let go of one thing on this falling off the wagon thing, it's to not allow yourself to completely fall off because you don't believe that there's a universe or there's a God.
Right.
That's why I always have one foot on that wagon, because that part of the journey never differs for me. Mm-hmm. I sometimes will feel like, okay, if the universe is not going to allow it to go this way, if it's not supposed to go this way. And so that's where my faith kind of starts to go, of like, well, maybe it's not going to go that way because it's not supposed to, but it's never because the universe doesn't actually exist. Mm-hmm. So try and remember that when these things happen, and keep that foot on the wagon.
Mean, before you went through this process and learned what you learned, about your gifts, I wanted to believe that.
Me too.
I wanted to believe this.
Yep.
But I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And now I can say, oh, I'm absolutely sure.
Yep. Nobody could talk
what's happened for me is that I've established my own connection now.
Yes.
You just made it possible for me to recognize what I'm actually connected to.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't take for granted that at all. That very lucky that I, am with someone and love someone that has a gift like this, where we can know in advance. But now that I've kind of learned through you a lot of this, I can feel it myself.
Yes.
I can see it myself.
Yeah. Yep.
Not necessarily with my own eyes, but with my third eye. I can see these things and feel these things changing. And then obviously hindsight is such a wonderful gift, because then you you put those pieces together and you understand how in much the later story explains the early story.
Absolutely. It's cool to watch, and it's cool to see even with our listeners, because I talk to a lot of you, and I love to see that and see it coming to fruition. And because that really is it. If we can just keep that focus on the fact that it is real and it is there, then even when we fall off the wagon, we're not completely off of it. Mm-hmm. And that's helped me for sure. I asked our listeners, what kind of things do you consider to be symptoms of falling off the spiritual wagon? And here's some of the things that they said. Constant negativity.
Yeah.
That is the number one thing that happens to me.
Mm-hmm.
I will wake up in the morning and I'll be like, eh.
Yep. Not this again. It's like Groundhog's Day, literally.
Yes. And I'll say that a lot too. Oh, great. You know, how's your day going? Another day in paradise. That's, you know, when you start to feel those things happening, you got to make a little change. It's hard. But you know what? I hate being negative now. When I feel myself doing it, I'm like, stop it right now. That little voice in my head gets me. Let's see. The next one was not listening to my intuition. We doubt ourselves and our intuition when we're falling off that wagon because the faith starts to go away. So when the faith starts to go away and you don't listen to the intuition as much, yes, it all goes hand in hand. The next one was excessive judging of others. And I'm going to put this along with ego, even though not a lot of people marked my ego controls me more often. But excessive judging of others goes back to your ego. It coincides there. But that is something, too, that I noticed that when I'm really on the wagon and I'm really good on my spiritual journey, I really don't like to judge anybody, and I can feel that especially with driving. When I'm like falling off the wagon, I feel myself like, come on, move. What are you doing, you stupid? And I'm being polite right now.
Yes.
But when I'm on the wagon, it doesn't bother me. I just drive and I don't care what anybody else is doing.
Yeah.
It all just comes down. Okay, let's see what else we got. Doubting my path.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just thinking about that one as we were talking a few minutes ago. And you were saying something, I caught myself drifting for a second. And I was showing movers where to put furniture in this place that we're going to move.
Right.
So I thought, well, you know what I mean? That's bizarre.
Right.
And I sort of like, come on, we're working
Snap out of it, yeah.
Snap out of it. But that's a reason, because what we're talking about here, and they're showing me, Danny,
right,
you're going to get what it is you've worked for.
Yeah.
You and Samantha.
Yeah.
You're going to get what you've been working for and shooting for. And so just little visions of like that is weird.
Yes, I know.
It's like not an intrusive thought, but a good one.
Yeah. Because it is, because they're putting it in your head. They're like, look at this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you go, why did I just think that? Because they're showing you. They're saying, this is the right path. You're going to be fine. Right. One of the things that I've really recognized, and I think I said this to you yesterday, is that if you're on this path and you believe that it's the right path, you will see your signs. If you've set signs, like I have so many signs, but if I'm not in a good frame of mind, if I'm not on my path, I will not see signs. Yeah. The more that you are connected and aligned with your path, the more you'll see them. So if you're seeing those signs, it means keep going. Well,
another sign within the sign that I didn't finish saying to you is that, so as you're reading this right now, the second thing on your list was the intuitive part, the intuition. Mm-hmm. And I did not chime in on that one. And I was thinking to myself, I should have, that would have been a good spot to talk about what I just said. And I didn't. Right. So my next thought was, well, if she says something in these questions or list about doubting, then I will mention it. And the very next thing you said was doubting.
Yeah.
So I said, I guess I'm supposed to say this here.
Intuition works weird
I was
like
daydreaming.
That.
Sorry, I had to admit I was daydreaming.
That's okay. We all do it. Let's see what else is on this list. Losing faith in the universe, of course. We've talked about that. Feeling shame about bad days. Everybody has bad days. Yeah. And that's okay. Yes. It's what you do with it and what you do the next day. If you allow yourself to wake up the next morning and go, yesterday was a bad day, and so today is going to be too, then you're not learning. So it's, today is a bad day. I'm going to allow myself to have a bad day. Sometimes they're not bad days. Sometimes they're bad moments and you move on from them. But sometimes it's a bad day. Right. And then you just have to say, okay, I'm going to surrender because there's going to be bad days. And I'm just going to go with it. And tomorrow I'm going to wake up and it's going to be a new day.
But you never want to, set up camp there. You know,
No.
you always want to kind of have your bags packed
Exactly.
to leave that spot.
Exactly.
But it's okay. It is okay when you need it.
Yep. It really is. Absolutely. Yeah. We all need those days where we can just have a pity party. When something bad happens, I try and take one day and have a pity party over it and then move on from it instead of dragging it on and on and on, because you can't change the past. You can only move forward.
Yep.
So what's the point? Jacqueline said, all of those are examples. The lack of consciousness or awareness manifests differently for me. The ego is very tricky. Yes, and that's what it is it is the ego. It's that there's so many different things that the ego can tell you. Right. It can tell, the ego is responsible for telling you you're not going to succeed just as much as it is for saying that other person over there isn't going to succeed. That's all coming from the ego. Yep.
I think because we're beings of energy and walking this path, or, you know, riding this wagon of spirituality takes energy.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. It takes energy.
It does.
So we can't run full power all the time.
No.
We're going to like crash or, you know, bog down until we refuel.
Absolutely.
But it's a good example, I think, of about how this works, is that when you are going full bore or your energy is at its highest, your vibration is and frequency is incredibly high.
Yes.
And it brings to you those things. It brings to you the things you're manifesting, that you're dreaming and daydreaming and thinking about and hoping for.
It does.
When you're down in the valley and seeing no hope and very little light, your energy's going to be low.
Yep.
You know, you're tired, you're out of it.
Yep.
So your frequency isn't at the frequency that those things are at.
That's exactly right. Yep. But your vibration has a lot to do, well, it is all to do with your mind, your frame of mind, where you are and all of that. And that comes down again to, how are you going to wake up in the morning? What are you going to think in the morning? The universe loves to see us work. So one of the ways that, like, I try to push forward when I feel like I'm falling off the spiritual wagon is I'll be like, okay, I'm going to get up Monday morning and I'm going to do all of these things that I've been putting off. Because when you get depressed or there's a lot going on, you tend to put things off.
Right.
So, like, there was one Monday where it just felt like everything was happening because I was getting stuff done. The universe was throwing great things at me because I was getting stuff done. It loves to see that. But it's the days where I sit around on my phone and I don't do anything and my vibration's low, that nothing really happens and things don't move. So the more that we're moving and the more that we're putting in this effort to move forward, even when it is just making those stupid phone calls that we need to make, because I put those off. I hate those phone calls, you know, so I put them off, put them off. But the universe rewards me when I make them because it knows how much I hate them.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, you just got to kind of push through all of those things. We had a couple of listener questions. The first one is from Charlie. He said, what's the best way to balance getting back on the spiritual wagon? Sometimes I feel like I focus on success a lot and abandon my spirituality at times. Your success and spirituality should go hand in hand, and it's about balance. So I think when you're feeling like you're looking more towards success, I would look to the universe to help you with that success. The universe wants to see us balanced.
Yeah.
It wants to see us striving for our goals, helping others, helping ourselves, our family, all kinds of things. Balance is very, very important. So again, I think you're the only one that can put you back on that spiritual wagon, and it all comes down to your thoughts.
I think that also on the scale that a lot of us dream and wish for is such a grand scale that if all of us got that every time we were wishing, and no matter how pure it was, it'd be overwhelming.
Yes.
And we've seen that, you know, so many times throughout history with just like famous musicians, you know, actors, actresses. It just hits and it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
But that's what they dreamed and wished and manifest, and they got it.
Yep.
So I don't, you know, really need all that.
Right.
It's more like, bring me exactly what I need, and a little bit of what I want would be nice,
sure.
You know? But, you know, especially somebody like Charlie that might be a business owner, You don't want to be overwhelmed to the point where you're never home.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Or you can't, write the check or cash that check.
Right.
Or the person can't cash the check you're writing kind of thing. So.
Right.
Is what I meant.
Allow the universe to guide your success, really is what it comes down to, because I know for myself, I'm very ambitious and I want to push and push and push. But the thing is there's a way that this has to go. Just like for Charlie and his business, for me and my business, there's a process of learning. We all have that. And so we can't expect success to just happen overnight. It's something that takes time. And Charlie especially is very young. So it's going to take time to get to that point to where you want to get to. You're still building and learning and all of that. Yep. So, it really is just about letting the universe guide you on that road of success and not pushing yourself in a certain direction. I've talked about how I had auditioned for several reality shows at the beginning of my spiritual journey. And, at the time you're like, cool, yeah, let's do this. And now look back and go, thank God I didn't, because I was not ready for that. I wasn't ready for that type of success, but also that type of exposure at that point. I was not ready with my abilities. So that was the universe's doing. And, I could let myself get depressed over that, but I was actually happy about it. The universe will put you where you're supposed to be if you allow it to do so. That's what it's there for.
I agree.
Yep, it's to absolutely help us. The next question is from Jessica. She says, well, I think this might be more of a statement, but she said, I feel like I'm running behind the wagon, chasing it to get on, trying to unlearn old and learn new and pull it into existing body of knowledge. Trusting myself has always been hard. I think you're on the wagon just based on the fact that you're willing to unlearn and to relearn new things.
I think so too.
That's a big part of it. If you're sitting there going, I'm not going to change and I'm not going to heal and I'm not going to work on any of this, then you're off the wagon.
Yeah.
But when you're on it, you want to work on these things. Mm-hmm. It's really an amazing, empowering feeling to heal. And I suggest it to everybody. Yeah. As hard as it is to do it when you're in the process of it, afterwards it feels really good. So that's, absolutely. So what do we do when we fall off the spiritual wagon? How do we get back onto it? Well, here's some tips for you. Try to get back on it as quickly as you can once you notice that this is happening. Sometimes you might say, I've fallen. And you'll be, I've fallen and I can't get up. And that's okay. That's all right. When you're ready to get back on the wagon, it's just like with an alcoholic or somebody else. You can't force it. Mm-hmm. It has to happen the way that, you need it to. Right. So when you recognize that and say, I'm ready and I want this and I want to do this, then go for it. Go all in. It isn't necessarily something you have to take baby steps at. No. You just get back on that wagon.
But a lot of us need to sit, so to speak, in our own crap for a while.
Yes.
Till we can't handle it anymore to move.
Yes.
But what's most important about that whole thing is that as long as you move.
Yes.
Like I said, don't set up camp there. Don't stay there.
Right.
Allow yourself, a moment to whatever, doubt, be upset, pissed, whatever. And then move on.
Yes. Don't overthink it either. The fact that you've fallen off the wagon and this whole, I can't get back on, it's too hard, it's too this, it's too that. It's really not. That's a mindset. When you want something bad enough, you will do whatever you need to do to have it. And for me, at least, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, when I'm on the spiritual wagon and I'm going forward, it feels so good.
And you can't do it alone. And you're not doing it alone if you think you are. True. So if you're there and you don't know how to get out of it, you ask for help.
Yes.
Whether it's the universe, a family, a friend, a loved one, whatever. You ask, and I guarantee you, there will be something that appears to help you.
Have we ever done an episode on asking the universe for help? Maybe we need to do that. Like, I've learned so many different techniques on how to ask the universe for help, how to show me which way to go. Maybe we should do an episode on it. Might be good. Yeah. Yep. So what else can you do? Don't let others throw you off. Misery loves company. And sometimes when you feel like, okay, I'm going to get back on, and then you're around somebody that's negative, they can suck you back down into that negativity. Instead, try and bring them into your positivity.
You can feel it even through social media.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's just some people you scroll by and you're like, ugh.
Absolutely.
I can feel the thickness on this page.
Yes. I saw a video. I think all my education comes from TikTok, it seems like. But that we are 2.5 times more likely to think of negative thoughts than we are to think of positive thoughts.
Yep.
It is easier to think about the negative than it is to think about the positive. You have to work a lot of times to think about the positive, but it's worth it. And that's why it's called work.
Right.
It's worth it.
So if 90%, not even 90%, but if half the planet didn't work that way.
Yeah.
And was thinking 2 times greater to think positively than to think negatively.
Right.
The energy that just would be on this planet alone would start changing things that people wouldn't be able to explain why they're changing.
Absolutely.
It's our own frequency. It's our own energy.
It is.
Our own positivity.
It absolutely is. We control this journey. And I tell people a lot when I talk to them, and I tell myself this every day, if you look at this like a simulation, like a video game, like a movie, and you put yourself into all of these situations and see what you need to learn from it and where you're supposed to grow from it, and you take the other person out of the equation when there is another person involved, then you can move along a lot smoother.
Yes.
My sister was having some issues, and I was trying to help her to maybe address the person with the issues. And she's like, but I'm afraid how this person is going to come back and that they're going to be mean to me and what they're going to say to me. But the thing is that if you're speaking your truth and you're putting out there how you feel, and that person comes back and they're mean to you, the only person to blame for that is themselves, especially if you are being really calm and you're just explaining and you're being honest and you're not like, trying to make it some big stink. It's your lesson here is how you're going to handle that person, not how that person's going to handle you.
Yes.
And that's hard to accept a lot of the times.
I heard this story on TikTok, as a matter of fact.
TikTok, the #1 educator.
That thing, Get Back by the Beatles, that was aired on HBO or something.
Yeah.
The guy that was actually one of the cameramen was sharing stories. And this guy probably has some of the greatest stories. But he said when Billy Preston came in and the recording of Abbey Road, everybody was like, who's this? Like, there wasn't even really a big introduction outside of the band, so people didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
And then he sat down at the keyboards and was playing them, so they're like, okay, well, he's obviously in the band or part of it. Well, John Lennon came in one day kind of cranky and sat down at that electric keyboard and started playing it, and it was all feisty and said, I think this thing is out of tune. Get it out of here. And Billy Preston was in there, and the cameraman said he said it in a way that you couldn't argue with it.
Yeah.
And it was so kind.
Right.
And he said, that's an electric piano. They can't go out of tune. And John just, okay.
It's all about
and
delivery. Absolutely. In a situation like that, it's about delivery. If you were to go, yeah, that's an electric keyboard, idiot, that's one thing.
But I'm sure the guy was nervous. Like, I got to school John Lennon here, but I got to find a diplomatic, nice way to do this.
Absolutely.
I loved that story.
That's the universe at work. Being kind absolutely gets you everywhere. Something else that you might notice when you are in this place is that you're resistant to letting things unfold and change the way they're supposed to. So stop resisting change.
Yes.
Stop pushing what the universe wants for you away, and just go with it. And
it has to move those things out.
Absolutely.
In order to usher in the new.
Absolutely. And sometimes you don't know what those changes are going to be, but you feel them coming, and it is really just about, okay, I'm just going to allow the universe to do what it's going to do, because it's not going to let you down if you do.
But you have to surrender.
Yes, you do. You do. And Shauna had mentioned this, and what she said earlier is that it's okay to take a break. It doesn't mean that you've fallen off the wagon, but if things are getting too intense for you on this journey and you just feel like, I can't put this kind of, time or energy into this right now and I need a little bit of a break, it's okay. Try to keep yourself positive, though, during that break and, keep your vibration up, and that will help you. And then when you're ready to come back to your spiritual journey, you can come back to it.
Sometimes what I do, too, in my own mind, and we'll do this when we talk sometimes, is that, we've discussed a lot of different topics on this show. Some are really, really mind-bending.
Yes.
And then some are pretty easy, concepts to understand. When it gets a lot, and I start feeling like, oh my gosh, there's so much to consider and think about and be aware of and watch for. And I just try to go back to the beginning and simplify it. Yeah. As much as I can for me at the moment. Yeah. Just to reinstill my faith. Yeah. And know that it's not gone. It hasn't gotten too bizarre. Yep. I'm just learning.
Yep, exactly. One thing I wanted to talk about real quick that I forgot about, but this kind of goes along with this, is that there's always an answer for what's going on with the universe when it's trying to show you something or it's giving you another sign. And I had talked about before on the show about how I was seeing 17s all the time. Mm-hmm. This had been going on since November. Yep. Constantly 17s. And I couldn't figure it out. And then that day, that Monday that I was talking about, I'm pretty sure that that's the day it was, that everything was happening. All of a sudden, I heard what it was. That it was my step aunt that passed away in October. It was her. It was her death day. Mm. And I didn't remember because I'm not really close to that side of the family. But there's a lot going on with that side of the family right now. And so I looked it up. I looked up her obituary, and she died on October 17th. And ever since then, now we're communicating. We're building this communication. Why I didn't realize that, at the beginning, I think I thought about it, and I thought there's no way. And I didn't look farther into it. But there's always a reason. Yeah. It's sometimes, even for a psychic, it takes you a while to figure it out. It's never anything bad. They're just trying to teach you how to communicate with them. And now that I know that the 17s are Janet, I can put that with her and know that she's giving me that message. So don't give up on those things. If you feel like you have all these signs that are coming at you and you don't know why they are, it just sometimes is about sitting down with it and saying, okay, well, I have these loved ones on the other side, or even people that are alive. They'll use numbers for people that are alive too, to give you messages about them. So it's just about learning how to use that, I guess.
That's what I was talking about when I said we were asking for signs to be answered.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing them, but not certain what they were.
Yeah, it was still, it's constant 17s. And so I said, Janet, if this is not you, or universe, if this is not Janet, stop the 17s for a while. And they did not stop. They actually got more. And I was hearing things like Janet references and stuff. It's just so weird how that happens, Funny. Yeah, but there's always a reason. Yep, absolutely. So that's a little off topic, but I wanted to share that. So anyways, there you have it, falling off the spiritual wagon. Cool. So if you've fallen off, if you have a leg dangling off, or you're waiting for the wagon to run you over, let's work on this week pulling ourselves out of that and getting back on the wagon. Right. Yep. I'm going to do it.
Something to consider in all this, too, which will bend your mind a little bit, is to consider that you've done this before as other lives. So you've gone through it before.
Yes.
You're literally indestructible.
Yes.
So you're not going to die.
No, you're not.
You're not going to die from falling off the wagon or getting back on.
No. No, absolutely not. Yep.
So
it's all a journey. Yeah. It's all a video game, a simulation, a movie, however you want to look at it. Just play it as such, and it gets easier when you play it that way. Yeah. When you think about everything as though, if I were to do this in a video game, if I were to make this move, what would happen in that video game? That's what I think about every time that I do something. Right. And that helps to keep me on the wagon most of the time.
And every video game is beatable if you do it enough.
Absolutely.
So just replace the quarter with your time.
Yep.
And how much time are you willing to spend?
Yep.
You will master it. I mean, I don't know if it's master, but you will pass.
Yes, if you work on it, absolutely. Yeah. So there's no reason why not. Yep.
Very cool. That was a good one.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked the topic. Yeah, sure.
Before we say goodbye to everybody, you want to share your information one more time?
Yes, you can find me at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. You can find the podcast there, or you can find us on social media at Spiritual Joneses. And then you, sir.
Yes, from my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Yay.
And that's it.
Fabulous.
Well, we hope everybody got something out of this.
Yeah, we do.
If you have fallen off, don't worry.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
You will.
Get back on.
Yes.
And you'll probably fall off again. And it's all right.
Exactly.
Get back on.
Fall off again. We could keep going all night.
Right.
Yep.
So, but we hope everybody has a great week.
That we do.
And until next week, peace and love.